Mrs. Zelensky in Rome for that security and reconstruction conference. So interesting to hear Jana say there that the biggest thing that Ukraine could look for right now is the transfer of those frozen Russian assets to go towards reconstruction in Ukraine. And joining us now is Michael Bociurkiw, Senior Fellow at the US think tank, the Atlantic Council, and Global Affairs Analyst, also joining us from Ukraine today. Michael, it's very good to have you with us as ever. And what do you think could come out of this summit, the meeting here in the UK today between the leaders of the coalition of the willing, the UK and France, that would help Ukraine the most at this point?
Yeah, good to be with you, Annita. Janya was right. I mean, if Europe could get its act together and unfreeze that, roughly in Europe is sitting 190 billion euros of frozen Russian assets, that would help Ukraine a lot. I think the only way that could happen if it goes into a reconstruction fund rather than directly for arms. But there's a lot of worry there about what would happen to the confidence in the euro. But look, I think it's fair to say that there's a lot of skepticism here in Ukraine right now. We've had so many summits. The 18th package, 18 package of sanctions that is being proposed by the EU is still blocked. And, you know, people here tell me if only Europe had got their act together at the beginning of the war more than 3 years ago and unleashed a whole big package of sanctions to starve that Russian war machine of funding, we wouldn't be where we are right now in this really pathetic position where, as you saw, Kyiv especially is being hammered every night. One more quick thing, of course, Patriot missile systems will help. Ukraine is reported to have about half a dozen. President Zelensky says about 25 are needed, but those alone will not stop the waves, waves of hundreds of drones. You need a kind of protective shield that Israel has. Unfortunately, Ukraine is too big for that to even be contemplated. So not in a very good position right now.
Yeah, and one of our correspondents reporting earlier that there is a thought that Russia might have the potential to unleash 1,000 drones a night very soon. So that aerial bombardment is incredibly intense. Into the mix, then, we have that news out of the US, President Trump reversing that US decision to stop sending some weaponry to Ukraine. How much is that going to help? And how difficult does it make it for European leaders in terms of what they're doing when they can't quite be sure of the US position at the moment?
Well, great question, because exactly is that no one really knows amid all of this dysfunction in the White House and the well-known habit of Mr. Trump to change his mind or lose interest in a certain hotspot in the world, whether this will actually happen. So I think Ukrainian leaders are waking up to the fact, as well as leaders in European capitals, that the U.S. can no longer be relied upon to the extent that it used to, and that they quickly need to get their act together. But as you well know, Anita, there is such a delay in European countries getting their act together to increase defense spending. There are now political forces at work domestically that are making that difficult to happen. So it won't happen overnight. And I think Vladimir Putin of Russia realizes that there's a big void right now, that there's disorganization, and he is exploiting it to the max. It's a very scary time in Ukraine right now for everybody. Luckily, Odessa, where I am, has been spared the past few nights. But as you know, there's a world port here that ships grain and other commodities around the world. Let's hope that that's not struck again, because that will, of course, reverberate around the world.
Do you think it's a coincidence or not that we've seen these two big aerial bombardments, especially the one a couple of nights ago launched by Russia at a time when Emmanuel Macron is here in the UK talking to Sir Keir Starmer about the defence of Ukraine, the coalition of the willing, and of course this reconstruction summit happening in Rome. So do you think that is a coincidence or not?
Yeah, that's how it usually happens. Is Mr. Putin likes to humiliate Mr. Zelensky. He likes to humiliate world leaders. There is a glimmer of divine hope, if we can put it that way, that Mr. Zelensky met with the Holy Father in the Vatican, and that there was an agreement for the Vatican to step in to host the talks of leaders. But I think we got a peek into the Kremlin's thinking. Your excellent colleague Steve Rosenberg, in his press review yesterday, really illustrated what the Russian press feels right now, which is, of course, the mouthpiece of the Kremlin, is that there's a chill in U.S.-Russian relations. They ridiculed Mr. Trump. And the signal that I and a lot of others got from that press reading is that Russia is now prepared to go its own way. I think they also feel that they have the backing of strong leaders like Xi Jinping of China in the background, and also India, the BRICS leaders. We are seeing a divide happening, which could have immense reverberations, not only in Ukraine, but around the world. It's, it almost feels, Annita, like the rules-based international order is in a free fall. I hate to say it, but that's my feeling right now.
And Emmanuel Macron on Tuesday was talking about the world order and the importance of defending that. So, as you say, Ukraine is building up its own defense capabilities. The EU is starting to spend more on defense and building up the European element as well of NATO. But all of that does take time. Clearly, the USA remains crucial in all of this. How much more space do you think President Trump is going to give Vladimir Putin? He's expressed his frustration with Russia this week. And do you think there is a chance that the USA might step up in a more decisive way on Ukraine's side?
I'm asked a lot what kind of leverage President Trump actually has. And here's my thought on this, is there is one very, very effective avenue left to starve the Russian war machine, and that is President Trump using his leverage with countries like the Gulf states, with other countries like Thailand, who have been enabling Russia to circumvent sanctions, who have been hosting Russian oligarchs, who have been allowing them to park their yachts and buy expensive property. If Mr. Trump went to them and said, "We're protecting your states, now it's game over for you. No more Russian business, no more Russian tourists," that will be, I think, when the rubber hits the road, and Mr. Putin will realize that he's no longer in this game to the extent that he was. But whether that will happen, we'll see. But I think that is the most effective approach possibly right now.
OK, Michael, good to get your thoughts, your analysis. Michael Bociurkiw, Senior Fellow at the US think tank, The Atlantic.